Good evening, everyone. Thank you all so much for being here. My name is Patrice Toney. I am one of the assistant city managers for the city of Winston-Salem. And as you know, this is an opportunity to hear from the community about our police chief search. And so we thought it very important to get input and insight from you all on what you all would like to see in your next police chief. Before we officially get started, I definitely want to recognize our elected officials. We have Mayor Pro Tem Adams here, and she's going to come and say a few words in a minute. Wave your hands, MPT. Denise Adams. And obviously, Councilmember James Taylor, and he will speak in 1 second. But I also wanted to acknowledge the pastor of this church, Reverend John Dillard. He is the new pastor here at St. John CME Church, and we appreciate him opening his doors for this community opportunity. So stand up, Reverend Dillard, and give him a hand. Reverend Dillard, do you want to say a few words? We are in the house of the Lord, and we need a little bit of words of wisdom from the pastor. Thank
you. Good evening to all of our city officials and to each of you, our valued members from this community. We are grateful to have the opportunity to open our doors for this very important forum. I do believe that the community has a responsibility to be involved and not just limit itself to complaining after decisions are being made, but to be involved and to be a part of the decision-making process. And I also believe that the church has a responsibility to be involved. As I was sharing with someone, it takes all of us, as you've heard the saying, it takes an entire village to raise a child, but I do believe that it takes the church to keep the village connected and on the right path. So on behalf of the officers and members of the St. John Christian Methodist Episcopal Church, we say welcome, and we're glad that you are here.
Thank you, Pastor Dillard. I also wanted to recognize the city manager is here, Mr. Lee Garrity. Thank you for being here as well. And so at this time, we want to hear from our public safety chair, Councilmember James Taylor.
Good evening. My name is James Taylor, and I bring greetings on behalf of the Public Safety Committee for the city of Winston-Salem. I didn't come here today to do a whole bunch of talking. We came to do exactly what we're going to do, and that's listen. This is the first of 2 public forums. The next one will be next Wednesday at 6 p.m. at the Salem Lake Marina. Over the last few weeks and months, we've had plenty of opportunities for folks to come down to City Hall and talk during the public comment session. And this is our opportunity to get out in the community, hear where your comments, thoughts, and suggestions are about what you want to see in our next police chief. We appreciate you being here today. We're eager to learn what you have to say. We'll take what you say, we'll compile it, and we'll use it to make our selection as we move forward. So again, thanks for coming out today. We're ready to listen, and we appreciate your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Taylor. At this time, I would like Mayor Pro Tem Adams, this is her ward, the Northeast Ward, to give a few remarks.
It's usually customary and tradition that if an event is held in a ward, if the council member is there, just like the pastor, we get up and we welcome you to the North Ward. For many of you, Dee Dee Adams, that know, I lived on Okalana Avenue, a stone's throw from here. My parents bought their first house from 1964 up until 1980. That's where we live. So Boston Thurman, Kimberly Park, all of that is part of me. And again, on behalf of the city and the mayor, welcome to the North Ward.
You all can clap a little bit. Thank you. All right, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Adams, for those remarks. As Councilmember Taylor said, we've actually been in this process since last September. We've been diligent about community survey, developing a candidate profile, creating an application, opening it up for people to apply a national search. And so we've dwindled it down. We have 4 finalists at this time. And so we will have these 2 community input sessions closer to the end of our process. And so tomorrow, we will reveal the 4 finalists to the community so that you can weigh in, and then on the 25th, you'll be able to hear from them directly with our community panel, asking questions that they collect from you all tonight. I want to recognize some of the people who volunteered to be on our community panel. One is Dr. Keith Vereen. He is the president of the Ministers Conference and a pastor. I see Vivian Perez-Chandler here. Stands up, Vivian. She is an executive and represents the, I think you're on the board of Hispanic League, and she does a lot of community. She also helped with the Weaver Fire and assisting us in that space. So thank you so much, Vivian. Is anyone else here that was on the community panel? I don't see anybody. So we'll have about 5 panelists. We also will have a youth panelist who will ask questions on behalf of young people and what they would like to see in a police chief. The director of the Mental Health Association will also be on the panel as well. All right. So I would like to, there's some pastors in the house, and I just want you all to stand. I'd like to recognize the pastors that are in this place. So if you can stand so that we can recognize you as well. Thank you. And so Bishop Fulton is here. He has been a long-time member of the Ministers Conference, a voice in this community. So I would like him to offer some words, and then we'll get to the community so that you all can add some input as well. So Bishop Fulton.
Greetings, everyone. I'm grateful to be here to listen as well and to share input. I have worked on 2 committees and selected the past 2 police chiefs with the city of Winston-Salem, and I think it is very important to have community input and community involvement. So thank you for showing up. Thank you for coming out. And I usually do meetings with my church members, and Mr. City Manager, you'll like this because I allow my church members to critique me. But I say to them, before we start the critiquing process, remember when you're done, I'm going to critique you. So after it's all said and done, when we have our critique of the police department, we have to also take responsibility and accountability. And if you don't like how things are being done, there is an opportunity for you to step up and become a police officer in the city of Winston-Salem. And rather than being a part of the problem, you can be a part of the solution. Thank you.
Thank you, Bishop Fulton, for those words. And speaking of being a police officer, we have our interim police chief here with us today. He has been holding us down through this transition time. He's doing an amazing job, and I would like for him to offer some words really on the state of kind of where we are in terms of public safety. His name is Michael Cardwell.
Good evening. I want to start out just to thank you for being here and being part of this. We know that it's important to understand the expectation of our community and to have you with us. We cannot solve crime by going out and trying to make arrest our way out of it. We have to have partnership with the community so we talk, we share information. It allows us to be able to do our job. So thank you for being here. I appreciate that. Mike Cardwell, I'm a 30-year officer this March here with the police department. It's the only home I've really ever had. Very appreciative of this city, the community. Honestly, I can't think of another place I'd want to be, so thank you for that. Where are we at? So Chief Thompson cast a great shadow. She did an excellent job. She formed an excellent team. We looked at technology, bring us into the future, how we can use technology to solve crime, keep the community safe. We're still following her path. We're still following the guidance that she gave us. The current administration she left, myself and the other executive team, we have worked hard to continue the work that she's done. We're still challenged by some of the things we were trying to overcome. Staffing levels with officers, and also our non-sworn staff. We're in an era right now where it's only a few handful of people want to step up and do the job to stand between good and evil in our community. I'm very grateful that we have men and women in our agency, sworn officers and non-sworn, that are willing to go out 24/7, keeping the community safe, doing what they can. At the same time, we also know we got challenges with gun violence and violence in general. We recognize that. We're working hard on it. I can tell you that part of the reorganization under Chief Thompson and what we continue to do is use our resources to make our community safe, to do everything we can. They are dedicated officers, men and women, every day out here working hard for you. We also need to know how we're doing. We need to hear your input. We're grateful for that. I know that sometimes people say, I don't want to hear what everybody has to say. We are not that agency. You know that. We are here. We have Dr. Pam People-Joyner out here right now, our community liaison, and I can tell you she will come in my office or anybody else's office and tell us what we need to hear from the community if we're not listening. I don't want to put her on the spot, but if you don't mind throwing your hand up, I appreciate you. Telling it to us straight helps us get the job done, and we appreciate the fact you're here, we appreciate her, and we appreciate the relationship that Chief Thompson has left with this agency, with the community. So I thank you.
Thank you, Chief Cardwell, for those amazing words. We are down about 140 officers at this time.
141 officers, 49 non-sworn staff members.
141 officers short. And so we welcome you and your family members. Do you want to make a recruitment pitch? Okay.
I kind of let this out, but I will tell you this. I've got recruiters back here in the back, and I got a little caught up with the past, so I stepped over it. We have recruiters here. Why? Because the community has the best interest in serving the community. So not only recruiting officers, but I will tell you, does anybody have high schoolers graduate this year? All right. Your high schoolers, I can tell you right now, we have jobs as dispatchers and in non-sworn. If they don't know where they want to go, we have jobs that they can come and do for us. At the same time, we got scholarships. What better way than get a scholarship from the police department? So the recruiters are back there in the back. Please throw your hands up. Take the time to ask some questions. Get to know what we can do to help get a community, working with the police department, be part of it. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so at this time, we do want to hear from you, from the audience, from the community. Pam, did you want to give any words? Okay. Pam's our community liaison. She's over our gang violence community unit as well, so she does a great job. Bishop Mack, would you like to give some words? Okay.
First, let me say good evening to all of you, giving honor to our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Since we're in the church here, I want to thank you, Ms. Tony, for this process and convening us here on tonight. To all of our elected officials who are here, thank you. And to our clergy, thank you for being here. I am here because I have deep concern for our city. I stand here with some trepidation, and I see what's happening, and it's not by accident that crime is up in our city, shootings are taking place, and we're at this point of having to select a chief of police. When you look at what's happening in our city, it's directly related to what's going on in churches. There's an author by the name of C.C. Goins who wrote a book, Broken Churches, Broken Nations. In that book, what he talks about is you can tell the health of a city by looking at the health of churches. COVID did a job on all of us, all of our churches. We're fighting to get people back to church, and we knew that as soon as churches were in trouble, that the city was going to be in trouble. I stand here tonight because we have found bullets that hit our church. We're now dealing with a situation where our vans, The van windows have been shot out, and it's at a critical place, okay? And so when you talk about who we need to be talking about as a chief, I would think one, you gotta have somebody that is sensitive to the situation and what's happening around us. Because we're dealing with trauma. All of this that's happening today is about trauma. It's about people who are hurting. We have 114 million people in this country that's living below poverty level. 68 million people have to work 2 and 3 jobs to make ends meet. 38 million children go to sleep every night hungry. And when you're in a situation like that, it leads to crime, it leads to all of this stuff. And whoever's in this position has to be sensitive and knowledgeable of those facts, even to begin to address it. That's the first thing. But the second thing is, whoever this is got to come with some strategies. And I'm gonna say this with all due respect. See something, say something is not a strategy. Because you're putting the responsibility on the people who are already traumatized. And they're already afraid to talk, so they ain't gonna talk. And so we just say, Joe, if you don't see nothing, don't say nothing, then y'all just live with it. No, that ain't a strategy. We need to know what kind of programs they're gonna come in with. What are they going to do for recruitment? What are they going to do for training? If they recruit from other counties, how sensitive would those persons be to our particular locale in our city and people in our city? So all of this is important, and I would really grill on strategy and programs. That's what's going to have to turn this around. And then last but not least, their understanding of the faith-based and police department working hand in hand. And by the end of the day, I think we can pull this together. But whoever you select, whoever you all select, just know that a flute won't suffice where a trumpet is expected.
We are dismissed. He said it all. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, now we are truly opening it up to the floor. Feel free to use either microphone on either side. I request that no more than 3 people line up at one time, but feel free to come to the mic if you have suggestions on strategies around crime, recruitment, retention, information, and whatever you would like for us to ask of the next police chief finalist. You can do that at this time. Okay, thank you.
First of all, let me say good evening to everyone. To the city manager and assistant, thank you all so much for allowing us an opportunity to share and to hear our voice. I have been so burdened with the crime, especially after this weekend, seeing, 7, 8 in one weekend. And a lot of what Pastor Matt has said is some of the same sentiments that I share as well. But let me bring you into a classroom setting. I'm an educator. I work for central office. And I was in a classroom presenting. And one of the students broke down and started crying. And I had to stop what I was doing. I said, "What's wrong?" He said, "I have seen so much death." And Pastor Matt just said it about the trauma. And so, as we go forward, this is some things that I would like to see in a new police chief. First of all, someone who really cares about this community. Not just a title, but someone who really cares about the betterment of this community. I also want to see someone who has a plan, a strategy, a plan for the police shortage. I think someone mentioned, how can we deal with this shortage? Maybe we need to advocate for better pay and better benefits for those who are coming in. I think a suggestion to the superintendent for a police academy in the school system, to train them in the school system, but we definitely need a plan for the shortage. We have got to deal with the gang violence. My career started in the middle school. A lot of these kids are drafted into gangs around about the 5th, 6th grade. So if there is not a plan of intervention going back to elementary school, once they get in, it's difficult for them to get out. I have talked with many students, pleading with them, and their words to me, we can't get out. And some of them do want to get out. So we need a plan for the gang violence that needs to start early, not reactive, but proactive, which means going into the school system, if it means doing an assembly, educating them, getting in the experts. Why are they being drawn in the first place? So we need a plan for gang violence, then community relationships, how we can build a better relationship between the city of Winston-Salem and the police department. And then a plan for partnerships. I don't think that our current problems are going to be resolved by just the police department. I think it's going to come with all of us working together, the school system, faith-based communities, organizations, and the citizens. I believe that it's going to take us all working together, because we have a problem that's not going to be fixed by one organization. And I believe if you all ask for the help, then the city would respond. But we don't know what help is needed until you ask. And so we need someone who will come and say, we need your help here. And then thirdly, I would like to see someone who does have some experience, because this person does need to come in hitting the ground running and be able to immediately address some of issues that we have. And then lastly, I know I said the other one was last, but the last thing is someone who is going to definitely be fair with racial issues, someone who is going to make sure that there is no abuse of authority, and to run a police force that really has the best interests of this community at heart. Thank you again for hearing my concerns.
Let's give her a hand. Those were amazing suggestions. I wrote them all down, and those were fantastic. Thank you so much. Okay, next.
Good evening to all. My name is Tracy Hart. I'm a member of the Habitat Community, Patterson Avenue Homeowners Association. Now, the problems that we are having is some of the same problems that everyone else is having in areas. Crime, Family Dollar Store. They are allowed to hang out in the front, hang out in the back, hang out on the side. We get up in the morning to go to work, to go to our job, 7 o'clock in the morning. You got somebody looking in your face knowing what time you leave to go to work and what time you go home. We have call Family Dollar Corporation. We have like she may come every now and then for like a 5-minute meeting. Okay, things have changed for about 2-3 months. Now that is back the same. Okay, now they're back breaking in your cars, because they know what time you're home and what time you're not at home. And that Ring doorbell camera, that stuff don't scare them. They really don't care. They don't care at all. So, and we're tired. Okay, we ask for cooperation with them. We get no cooperation. We have a wonderful alderman. She sticks with us, she stick by us. We call her with a concern, she's right on it. We want a police chief to do the same thing, to be on it, not just to be about talking, running your mouth, pushing paper, and pushing us to the side. No, we need somebody that's gonna handle this, and we can get resolutions to these problems that we are having with others. And you need to be sensitive. Just because we live in a certain diameter of Winston-Salem, don't look down on your nose at us, because everybody don't live the same. Everybody don't live the same, everybody don't think the same. Some people want something and they're proud of what they have and have been blessed with. And they do the best they can to take care of it. We want safety. You got the little, okay, in the store across the street, A to Z Grocery. Ali, that's his name. How can you be a store owner and allow drugs to be sold around your store? You're on the inside running your store and the dope boy on the side selling drugs. You can't do nothing. We can't get rid of them. Ain't nothing we can do. Why is there something you can do? We done gave you the address, the name of the bank who owns the loan, his name, how long he done been there. We done gave you all your information. We have done your work. What you telling us ain't nothing you can do. No, it's something you can do. And it shouldn't have to come to bloodshed before something is done. It's all day long. All day, every day. If no respect of time, no respect of person. All day long. You telling me, I'm a homeowner, and there's nothing that you can do. But if I was on Renota, Polo, Clemensville, and out in Clemens, or it'll be something you can do. And we need the same concern. We need somebody that's going to be on it and be about it, and not with all of this right here. You're going to push us to, oh, that's the Patterson crew. We're going to push them to the side. They're not so important. No. We want to be considered and honored like you will anyone else. Anyone else. And that's all I have to say, and thank you.
Greetings. My name is Tanya McDaniel. I sit currently as the County Commissioner for District A, and District A is the space that we're in right here today. I come with an axe, and my axe is part of some trauma experiences that I've had as a mother to, as a victim of gun and gang violence. Bear with me a moment, I'm trying to keep myself together. So I'm coming because I wanted to make sure that the candidates are open to receiving the worth of work that our sheriff is doing. However, Sheriff Kimbrough is elected countywide, and yes, he does do things inside of Winston-Salem, but what we're looking at here in Winston-Salem in terms of the work that we do on the county and for the sheriff's department, it's not enough. So they're having issues as well as far as hiring and all that also. However, I think it's important for the new chief of police to have a relationship with Sheriff Kimbrough, and you guys just kind of talk about what the Winston-Salem area is about. He's doing an amazing job in Louisville and in Clemens, but again, most of the crime and the gun and gang violence is happening in the inner city of Winston-Salem. So my ask again today would be to have a relationship with not only those ones here elected in Winston-Salem, but those ones countywide as well, and especially with our sheriff's department. So thank you for listening today and allowing me to share.
Thank you, Commissioner McDaniel.
Good afternoon. My name is Patricia Caldwell. I'm a resident of Boston Thurman. I'm also the president of the Boston Thurman Engagement Roundtable, as well as of a neighborhood association. I'm here to vent and to say what we're looking for in a chief. One is honesty, integrity, and transparency. You have to be very transparent about what's going on. You have to listen, because as Pastor Mack said, there are children that are suffering, they're traumatized. You got to deal with the inner part of it, because drugs is destroying a nation. The fentanyl, there's overdoses. It's about 5 or 6 people I can tell you that's died in my neighborhood. from fentanyl overdose. So therefore, we've got to have someone that comes together in our neighborhood to look at the problems and deal with the health issues, because these are mental issues. And I work in a facility where I see so much trauma and trauma with children, how children are violated. And we have to have someone that respects children to deal with the gun violence. Is because in my neighborhood, we hit the floor last week. I mean, we have one house that's been shot 5 times. And it's like the bullets going right behind my house. And my grandson just said, "Mom, did you hear that?" I said, "I hear it all the time." But it's something that we have to do as a group, to come together and to listen and to become involved, because one person cannot do it. It's going to take a whole community. Because when I started in this type of work in a community, it was nothing to have 35 or 40 members, because they were dedicated to families, to values. And right now, a lot of this is gone. It's like you go in your house, this is my house, and no more. We have to come out, because our teachers knew who we were, our pastors knew who we were, but now we are just individualized. We are so separated. And like I said, love can conquer it all. That's what I tell my grandson all the time, is that you can love someone, you can just love them, love them, love them. And that's what we need now, is someone to respect us, to be transparent, to have strong leadership skills, and that's what we're looking for in a police chief. Thank you.
Good evening. I want to talk about all of the above. However, a couple of things first. I'm a leader. I'm Bill Hayes. I'm a leader in my community. In fact, I am the chair. And we reached out to the police department about drugs and drug houses and speeding. And quite frankly, they don't act fast enough. They hadn't acted fast enough. In fact, they have ignored us. But that's not what I want to talk about, because we can stop them from ignoring us. 40 years ago, I got involved with an organization to help young boys. See, at a point it's too late. After he gets a certain age, ain't nothing none of us can tell any of them. So, we got over 200 black churches in this town. We got ministers all around us. But nobody works with the Boy Scouts. That's crazy to me. Here you got the strongest organization in America for young men starting at 6 years old. From 6 to 15. You know, when I was coaching, I wondered why, back in the 80s, this kid ain't responding to me. He's angry, he's defiant. Why? Then I got to thinking about it. The only strong black males he came in contact with many times, in many cases, was somebody coming in his house in the wee hours of the night and leaving it early in the morning. Had no relationship with the boy at all. See, we got to find a way to start early and connect with the boy on early and show him some love. See, I'm talking about an organization, 2 words, be prepared. God knows our young folk need to be prepared. So what we need to do, you know, this is going to fix itself, this police hiring situation. But we got a greater problem. We got a greater problem in that we've got to get people that look like me to work with young people, to work with our boys. Our black men got to get off there, you know what, and reach down and deal directly with a boy. That ain't happening enough. We only got 2 scout troops in the inner city. Thousands of boys. The Boy Scouts looking to work with kids. They're always talking about they're not meeting their goals. I'm saying you're not meeting your goals because your goal is in East Winston. That's what the goal is. So I'm saying I hope you all hear me, pastors, because I've been doing this for 40 years. I've been reaching out to you all for 40 years, trying to get you all to open up your churches to young brothers, 6 years old, and start them out the right way, teach them how to be prepared for life. That's what it's all about. You got to teach that boy at an early age. You can't wait until he gets 15, 16 years old. You got to catch him when he's 5 and 6 years old, and we got to teach him how to be prepared. We got to put our arms around him. We got to spend time with that boy. We got to, and we ain't doing that. We ain't doing that. We can look at these folk here all we want to look at. We got to solve our own problems. We got enough churches and enough communities. We got churches all over the yang. We got to bring those little boys in the church, and we got to get our deacons to look. I don't need guys walking around in front of me on Sunday with a 3-piece suit on. I need somebody that's going to get down on their knees with a boy in the community and spend a couple hours, 3 hours a week with a kid and teaching them how to be a man. I need somebody to teach a boy how to shave. Women are beautiful. I love them. But they don't know how to teach a boy how to shave. They don't know how to teach a boy good hygiene. They just can't do that. We got to do it. So I'm challenging you all, you ministers, to get involved and get those men. You got all those men organizations in the church. Everybody got a men's organization with 10, 15, 20 men walking around in the church dressed up. But you can't get none of them to spend 2 hours with a boy. I got a problem with that. And I've been fighting that for 40 years. And I'm tired of it. I ain't stopped fighting yet, though, obviously. I'm going to fight till the last day till we get black men to get involved with black boys and stop it. That's the real deal to me. Once we do that, we can fix this. But we got to fix our own kids. And I could talk about it all day because I'm really angry inside. Because you just can see what happens when a man takes the time to work with a boy. It doesn't matter whether you're a carpenter, a bricklayer, or constructor. It doesn't matter. You could have a PhD, but all you gotta do is show the boy some love. Teach him how to go to the bathroom right. A boy going to the bathroom and sitting down doing what he got to do. He don't know no better because only people here around, they sit down and do what they got to do. Men don't sit down. But where you gonna see that at?
Thank you, Coach Hayes. The message is get involved. Get our young boys involved. Thank you so much. Mr. Carter.
Good evening. My name is Philip Carter. I'm with the Coalition for Accountability and Transparency. And a lot of things that have been said tonight, I do concur with. But as I look at what's going on in our city, I think about who is most impacted. And it is our citizens and the youth, the most impacted. I don't see where policemen are being shot every day, thank God, or clergy being shot every day, or even heads of nonprofits. It's our citizens, innocent individuals. So what I'd like to know, first and foremost, as it relates to whomever our chief is, because it's apparent, and I don't want to be facetious, so I'm going to assume that our former police chief tried to engage with the community. And I would hope that the new police chief would be able to present some experiences having done so, but also be innovative in doing so. Because there are a lot of reasons why when we hear on the news where something is happening in the community and people are not speaking, which is a problem. And this, whomever is chief, needs to know how to deal and work with and empower communities. Because when I think about this, I think about the people in Ukraine. And the people in Ukraine, they want peace. They want to be in their homes. But they're playing an active role in their own desire. And I believe communities should be given that opportunity and should be given the utmost assistance, whether it be helping to start a Boy Scout troop, whether it be going into the schools as someone mentioned, but whatever that community needs, and the only way you're gonna know what it needs is if whomever that chief is on the ground in the community talking to the actual people that are impacted, the everyday citizen, the person that goes to work, and worries about their house being vandalized or their home being broken into while they're there. So I'd like to know, again, what are the experiences that this chief brings? What knowledge do they know of this city? And how do they plan to be innovative and productive in empowering the citizenry? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Philip Carter.
Hello, my name is Sharika Linville, and I would like to see more interaction with the police department, with our youth in the community. Over the summer, I believe her name is Miss Pam. She sponsored the chief department of police with the youth on softball, and lower income kids were able to attend those games and be a part of that without payment coming from poverty-stricken homes. I would like to see more of that into the community where kids will have something to do. When I was growing up as a child, they offered the Weed and Seed program through the Winston-Salem city, and they went into the communities with vans and picked children up and brought them to these community rec centers to provide programs for them, teaching life skills and cooking and things of that nature, and financial courses for kids to kind of be able to have these experiences when they get out into the real world. And I would like to see more of that available to our youth. It saddens me that we do suffer from those programs and everybody doesn't have the same opportunities as other children. And I would like to see more of that.
Good evening. My name is Vivian Perez Chandler, and I've been a part of this community for 20 years. I'm originally from Guatemala, and I say that because it's important to the community that I represent, that I am a part of, to have someone who also understands the cultural differences in engaging with our immigrant community. We know that there's obviously the language barrier, and I'm not just speaking about our Spanish-speaking community members, but our immigrant community has continued to grow and grow over the years. And so I think that's a very important thing to acknowledge, and also whether it's making it a requirement to include some of those cultural competencies on how to engage with our immigrant community, also competencies to how to approach someone with mental health challenges as well. I think a lot of that, we have seen that because of the inexperience or the training, the lack of training that some of our police officers have, whether it's here or anywhere else we've seen, it's has resulted in them just not being able to notice when it's a mental health situation, and it's escalated to even death. So I think one of those things, those things are very important when looking to see that we have the commitment and a strategy that would take into consideration our changing communities here in Winston-Salem, and as well as understanding, someone brought up trauma. There's a lot of trauma for our immigrant community who comes here. Also acknowledging that the relationships that we have with police officers are not the same. We come from a background of corrupted police officers where there is no safety. We do not trust police, where that's something that we bring. And so again, that's a part of the cultural competencies that I think are very important from my perspective for the chief of police to bring to the department.
Thank you, Vivian. Vivian is one of our panelists, and so we hope that all of that is brought up next week. Thank you, Vivian.
Good afternoon. I'm Jerry Anderson. I'm the executive director and founder of Do School. And I want to say, first of all, thank you, Bill, a proven leader among men, and he just tore it up in terms of some of the things that he expressed. I also want to thank the Winston-Salem Police Department for exposing themselves to the kinds of violence that we have in our city. They're not alone. It's all over the country. Thank you. I want to say that I am not an executive director by nature. I am not in the nonprofit business by nature. I'm an entrepreneur for profit. But it's really, really challenging to live in a city where all that I hear, I live on Underwood Avenue, and every day, I mean every day, there is gun violence. Guns going off at 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning. Wake up the next day, and you see in the newspaper and on TV what the results of those guns are in our community. I'm not looking for a police department to solve my problems. Bill hit it. He told us. This is for us to do. This is not for, they are a support organization as far as I'm concerned. The problems that exist in our city are problems that come from within our community. And so what I did with Do School, and this isn't about Jerry Anderson, but I want to share with you what can happen when good ideas are put forward. Young men in our community suffer from a number of social ills that preclude them from being able to get employment. Can't get a job. Substance abuse, lack of education, violent criminal records. I asked some men in our community. One day I was at the post office on Patterson Avenue. And when I went into the post office, I asked a black couple in front of me, I said, man, do you all see what this post office looks like up here, man? Paper everywhere, bottles everywhere. And behind me came a voice, said, what are we going to do about it? And I looked around, and it was a white man. And he said, what are we going to do about it? And I was like, okay. And I let him, I went ahead and took care of my business, and I waited outside to find out who this guy was. And as it turns out, his name is Bill Ball, and I don't think he would mind me saying what his name is. Bill Ball is the chief financial officer at Frank Bloom. All of you all know Frank Bloom. Frank Bloom's been in our community they're celebrating their 100th year of GC, their general contracting and construction. So I talked to him along with a number of other people in the construction industry about what part that could they play in helping to train and then employ people from our community. We started a nonprofit. Every single thing that it took to start this nonprofit was donated. I mean everything from Wumble Carlisle doing the legal work that it takes to get a nonprofit status. I bought in Superior Mechanical. They are a top HVAC and mechanical company. I got Sutton Brothers Plumbing, and I got an electrical contractor, and please forgive me, I'm a little bit getting old. I can't remember as well as I used to. Bill's laughing at me. You know what I mean. That's a laugh of recognition, I should say. But we brought these folk together, and they came right in beside us, and they helped train people in plumbing, electrical, and HVAC. They volunteered. They gave us all of the materials that it took to fix the house that we have on Underwood, and I'd like to invite anyone to 1441 Underwood Avenue. But what we have to do is that we have to come together in terms of organizing really good, thought-provoking ideas about what can we do. We cannot wait on the police department to respond to gunshots. I mean, that's after the fact. We have to form strong community organizations, and then we have to care about what it is that we're seeing in our community. I'd like to see the new police chief be a person that listens to centers of influence in our community who got a really good idea, who have a really good idea of what's going on their street. And talk to them, listen to them, don't just blow them off. And you're too busy for them. Let these be the ears and the eyes that you need to be able to, understand exactly what it takes to make it better. James knows me. He knows how, the kinds of stuff that we're involved in. And I think this is a recipe to change our city.
But it's going to take us getting out of our comfort zone. One other thing before I sit down, and that is churches. Churches have their fingers on their thumb on the pulse of the community. They got all of the people that come to their churches. I've been to the ministerials conference and spoke about this very same thing, about the churches getting involved in our community to help steer. I had the hardest time when I started getting 6 young men to participate in our program. And we pay $15 an hour and everything that they need. We had a really hard time. I couldn't figure it out. Why churches aren't. I know you got kids in your church that need training, and then they need a job. I can't figure it out why we had such a difficult time getting 6 young men from our community. Somebody's sleeping on the job. And I know Pastor over there, man, this guy over here is brilliant, man. You need to listen to him. Got that youth football league. He came up with this idea, and he supports it. He is involved in everything. We need to listen to the people in the neighborhood. So I'd like to see the next police chief be a person that comes out of the office, talks to the people that call in, gets good information from them so that we can start to attack this. But it's not your fault, and the responsibility is not yours. It's ours. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Dr. Pam Peoples-Joyner?
Good evening. I am Dr. Pam Peoples-Joyner. I want to talk on twofold. First, I want to acknowledge Scott Summerfield with the Winston-Salem Police Foundation, and they will be funding the T-ball program again this year at W.R. Anderson Recreation Center. We also have a cheerleading program. I just submitted a proposal today for a football program, so we have a very active student athletic group. Thank you, Scott, for attending. Secondly, I want to speak as a citizen. I'm angry citizen, and I'm angry because last Thursday when I went home, there was a bullet hole in my bedroom window. I actually thought I was seeing things in my house, a bullet in my carpet on the side of the bed where I sleep and I get dressed every night. Of course, I called the police department, Chief Cardwell, everyone came out. But I need a chief of police to understand, go to grassroots. I want them to be sensitive, as several people have stated tonight. Those grandmothers and those parents and guardians saying, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. When I went into prayer last Thursday, thanking God, I wasn't in the bedroom when that bullet came through my window. I said to myself, we have to have someone that goes back into the community. And Dr. Dixon, I need help. I need help not only as an employee of the Winston-Salem Police Department, but as an African-American female that works with grandmothers and parents and guardians to say those words, sick and tired of being sick and tired. I understand that we often have meetings. We meet, again, I'm speaking as a citizen. We meet just to meet, a lot of meetings, but we have people with the titles. We have people sitting around the table, the heads of the agencies. What about the people doing the work? What about the people that's out doing the work, that's actually doing the work, not presenting statistics and things of that nature? So that's what I would like to see as a citizen with that new chief of police. Someone that's going to go in the community and hear from the real people. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Pam Peoples-Joyner. Next, yes.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
My name is Pamela Phillips. I too am an angry citizen, but I just have so much. But I own a mental health group home, 1265 Arbor Road, diagonally across from Arbor Acres. I almost just stood up and just clapped when Bishop was talking. I'd like to see a police chief with more concerned about trauma-focused issues, because the police officers that come to our facility, some of them are wonderful. So I'm not here to bash the police officers. I thank you. And that's not saying that anybody else did. But most of them tell us they don't know what to do. And I have made calls even to captains, one 3 years ago that has not returned my call yet. And I tried to call over him. I've not gotten a response to that yet. I was even reported for abandonment of a kid by an officer that had no idea about what we do. And so I think it needs to be better communication. Coach, And everybody else that have spoken, I agree with them. I've done jail ministry for 31 years. I taught in the EC department and English in the Forsyth County school system. I got tired of seeing my children coming to the county jail. When I first started going, they had an orange jumpsuit and a white jumpsuit. The orange was for population, the white was for trustees. They added a navy blue suit. I said, what's that for? What is that for? It became blue for the regular population, orange if you got in trouble, white still for the trustees. Then they added a green jumpsuit. So I said, what is the green jumpsuit for? 16-year-old kids. For the last 18 years, I've worked with kids at my group home, boys that have been sexually abused by their own biological fathers, their mother's boyfriends, their siblings' friends. Wounded people wound people. I've asked over and over and over for help. I went to the MLK breakfast Monday morning, and I heard a lot of beautiful speeches, and I looked and I kept saying, those are some of the same people I asked to come to the group home, speak to my children. They haven't been yet. But we can come together and get up and talk about what we do, and I do all this wonderful work. Well, I've been asking you for 18 years to just come by and talk to them. 1265 Arbor Road, diagonally across from Arbor Acres. When we were going through so bad one time, Medicaid had put a lock on us getting kids and stuff. We didn't even have groceries. Do you all know where we got groceries? Union Baptist. God bless you and thank you for the work that you do. But I agree with Coach. I agree with this gentleman. Black men, you got to help our boys. I have a kid that's going back home to Rolling Hills in 9 days. I don't even want the child to go back home. But we don't have a choice. We have to let him go back home. But look where he's going. I live behind the main post office between, what's that, the post office and, what's that, Pat? Astor Park. It sounds like the OK Corral over there on most nights. One night last week, I didn't see any bullet holes, but I was ready to hit the floor. I didn't know what was going on. Chief Frank Stowe lives on the corner from me. There used to be one of the, I guess, assistant chiefs. Sometimes I called him, I say, what was it? Sometimes he'll laugh, he say, that was a firecracker, Pam. Sometimes he say, yeah, that was the real deal. He had a bullet to come through his house about a year ago. We need a chief, I guess that's, concerned about what's going on in our neighborhood. Train police officers to be more trauma-focused when they're dealing with mental health facilities, because there are a couple of us in the city. There's one over on Howland, that's a female facility. And it's like we don't get the support that we need because they haven't been trained properly to understand what the mental health facility does. But I agree more with these other people that this comes from home. It starts at home. All of the people up talking about we do this wonderful thing, we got this thing. I want you to come by 1265 Arbor Road and talk to my boys. Come by there and tell them what you can do for them and how you can help them. I've got a couple of police officers, and they're not black, they're white officers, that come by from time to time and check on my boys. But when I say none, I'm not exaggerating. Not one of the black men that I have asked for 18 years has been by my group home. So we can't put all of this on the police department. 1265 Arbor Road, 1221 North Howland. Is it 1221? I said no police. Dr. Pam invites us to a lot of things and helps us with a lot of things. But Dr. Pam is a black woman. I'm talking about black men. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Phillips. Okay, Ms. Arnita Miles, you've been standing.
Question number one for the new chief. Let's talk about dollars and cents. How much of your law enforcement budget will you put back into the community of Winston-Salem to help our youth, to help with gun violence, to help with crime prevention, and to help Dr. Pam Peoples-Joyner with all her programs? Question number two, Chief of Police. What can citizens do to help you restore safety in our community? How can citizens become proactive and engaged? What do citizens need to do? Police react. Citizens are proactive. What can citizens do? Question number three. With a shortage of 141 police officers, what is the strategic plan for senior retention? How are you going to keep the officers that you currently have on staff when our surrounding cities and communities are offering more funds? How will you keep our officers on staff, and how will you fulfill the shortage of 141 officers? Question number four, gun violence. You know what it is. You've seen it. What can the police and citizens do in partnership to do something about the gun violence in this city? It is beyond out of control. When we have a 12-year-old that was murdered Sunday, what can we do collectively about the gun violence? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Arnita Miles. Excellent job. Reverend
Good
Covington.
evening. I am Timbila Covington. I am the senior pastor at Exodus United Baptist Church, and for those who do not have a church home, it is at 2000 Wilbur Street, Winston-Salem, North Carolina. The first thing I would like to say is, as a bivocational pastor, I work for a nonprofit organization, namely Neighbors for Better Neighborhood, which is a grassroots nonprofit organization where we believe in working with residents in communities to help develop communities from within. So I am already boots on the ground, including my work as a pastor. What I have gathered, what I have experienced is that the color of hope is now green. Because the color of hope is now green for our young people, we have to figure out how do we begin to speak a language that speaks of hope that looks like green. And for that, I would like to suggest that for our new chief, that they know how to invest into the community. Investing more than just showing up with a whole bunch of fanfare, community days, and a hoopla. I'm talking about investing with funding. And so to that, I'll stop right there to just share a little bit about what the Ministers' Conference of Winston-Salem and vicinity has done in my tenure as president, of which I am just coming off, and so glad to see that our current president of the Ministers' Conference is here today. We had an opportunity with a short application to be able to request funding from the city, a social justice grant program that they had, to ensure that we supported in ways of making sure that we supported the community and trying to bring safety in the community. Our strategy, and I appreciate Bishop Mack speaking about strategy because that is very important in investing in order to receive a return on investment. Our strategy was to mentor young men within our communities by teaching them practical agricultural and to be able to learn how to grow their own food, become entrepreneurs, and to make money after they had grown the food. Not only did we bring them on to mentor them and had several people to speak with them, we brought them to different agencies, government agencies, nonprofits, to speak with them, to encourage them. We also gave them a stipend of $150 per month for 9 months. You'd be surprised the appreciation and gratitude that the parents gave to us for just supporting their children and learning a new vocation, which is to grow their own food, to become young men and understanding they had responsibilities, financial management and the likes, and to get out the streets. And so to that, I would like to see that our new police chief is investing into the communities. And one thing that I will certainly support and approve is that I believe that some of those fundings, most of those fundings, should be invested into the community liaison department. Dr. Pam Peoples-Joyner should have liaisons within the community. So within the community, people that are just not volunteering, but people that can support the work and strategy that has been laid out to make sure that there is a presence within every single community. So those are the things that I would like to see in a police chief. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Reverend Covington. Appreciate that.
Good evening. Been painting, so this is what you get this evening. My name is Mrs. Washington, and I live in Reynoldstown. And my family has lived in Reynoldstown and been in that home for almost 86 years now. We're a legacy community, and we've seen this neighborhood transition a lot over the years. And so relative to, I've listened and I've heard a lot of different words from everyone from our community, and all of them, check, 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 right? I agree with everything that's been said. What I would like to know from a candidate for police chief is, in hearing this, I'm sure that people who are applying for this position, I've heard that some of these folks are internal, there's one person who's external. I would really want to ask them what they think the current context of Winston-Salem is. Because it feels like we live in the OK Corral right now. And the reason I'm asking that contextual question is because whatever context you perceive our city is how you will lead our city. If you think it's a simple issue of just getting police officers, well, you'll get police officers and we'll move on, and et cetera, et cetera. Do you believe it's a complicated issue? Well, we just need to fudge the numbers or make this or make a program, right? There are limitations with where you perceive our context to be. If you think that we are in chaos, right, our city is in chaos, then you're going to be putting down, this is what we need to do, and you're not necessarily going to be as open. When there's a fire, I don't want to have a discussion about putting it out. I need someone to make decisions. So do you perceive Winston-Salem is in a position of chaos? But then if you perceive that we're in a complex stage or phase, we're going through some transitions, there's new people, however you perceive it, complexity demands that you collaborate. So I'm curious what they believe the context of Winston-Salem to be, because it's how they will lead our police department. In complexity, as you've heard from everyone here tonight, it requires the fact that you don't have all of the pieces. Community engagement is necessary. So I would like to know what their strategy is around that. And a question I would also want to ask, and probably before you ask all the questions about budget, et cetera, would be around what their values are around public safety. Because the thing of it is that where you start a thing is where you end a thing. Your values tell me a lot. And I know people are good at getting jobs. Well, I like this and I like that. But the thing of it is that your strategies are just the way you implement your values. So how you talk about and perceive the people of this community and the context that you perceive us to be in is how you will lead us. I would also, I think, resonate with everything that has been said here tonight, but one thing that's really important to me is that you're not coming onto a team of people that just popped up overnight. It is important to me to understand what are their strategies of collaboration with their staff, the currently overtaxed staff, the short staff, right? But also, what does it mean to be a staff member? They report to someone, and if we don't have agreement on this budget, if you're making recommendations based on what you've heard from community, based on what you've heard from your staff, how are you going to communicate that to the people you report to? What is your effective values and strategies around collaboration? Because I need someone to look at a budget and say, this is the budget, but if there's a challenge or a gap or something else, that they're going to stand for it. We don't hire professionals so that we can tell the professionals how to do the thing that we hire them to do. We hire them because we think they have the expertise. So I want to know how they're, I don't know what that question is, but I do want to give that concept, because as much as you will be running a police force, you'll also be an employee and accountable to your superiors and this community. So collaboration is key for me. I'd like to hear what that strategy is, as much as also what they perceive our context to be. Thank you.
My name is Ms. Thompson, and my question is, I would love to see a police chief that's going to open their eyes as well as the transparency. The police officers can only do so much because the laws stop them. When it comes to the gun violence of these kids that's out here shooting and killing and hurting each other, they're on a point system. The public is not aware of that. They have points, and once they reach a certain point, then they can be transferred to a facility. The police officers' arms are tied because they can only do so much. These kids know this. They go, I don't care, because ain't nothing gonna happen to me. I would love to see a police chief that's going to fight for the change. The parents need to be held accountable for their children that's out here shooting somebody. Amen. When my child was young, there's no way he would have walked in my house and I didn't know he had a gun. At some point. Might have missed it the first time, I might have missed it the second time. But at some point, you're going to know where your child, on what road your child is on. I would love to see a program implemented to change the parents in order to change the children, because they're out of control. The law keeps them out of control. The police chief is going to have to fight to change that law. That point system is the worst disaster to our youth today. And unfortunately, it's affecting the poverty-stricken black kids that are thinking that this is a way of life. The children that get caught up in that, where they can't get out, is because they live in a neighborhood where the gun violence is. The 12-year-old that got killed would not have probably been there had her sister not taken her there. It goes beyond the program, all as beautiful and as much as all these people work hard to try to change the children that are affected. It's going to take more. It's going to take a fight. And I want to see a police chief that's going to fight to change them laws.
I decided I would take some time to listen because I'm new to the area, so I don't know some of the issues that are particular to this area. And I do apologize, I had to step out for a call, so I may be saying something that may have been already said. I think there are two things that probably come to mind that I think would be a relevant question and concern to be considered for the hiring of the next police chief. I think number one, any police chief that has to address problems in the inner city really needs to be a police chief that has familiarity with the issues that are unique to an inner city and someone who could, in a sense, relate or have a vested interest. It would be wonderful, I think, if the next police chief was familiar with Winston-Salem and from an area similar to this, an area from Winston-Salem or similar to Winston-Salem, because sometimes I have seen situations in the various cities where I've pastored where police chiefs were hired that really had no kind of vested interest in the issues of an inner city, and in some ways contributed to the problem because of the fact that they weren't from an inner city context, nor did they have a vested interest in some of the unique issues that inner cities face. So I think that would be very important. Someone who has the kind of cultural sensitivity, understanding and knowledge of the intricacies of situations in an inner city context. The second thing that I think is very important, and a number of people have, I think, alluded to this, but I do think collaboration is going to be very important. I think that it's important to get all of the persons that are a part of a community. I heard someone say something about parents, and I applaud that because I think that's very important. But I think there has to be some kind of strategy where there is constant community engagement, where the members of the community feel as if they are a stakeholder in the issue, and where the members of the community, where there's a process where they can hear back on a regular basis as to what's going on, maybe look at crime statistics, perhaps get some suggestions or input from the various stakeholders in the community to kind of develop a more comprehensive strategy to address some of the issues that will take place. Because I do think that there has to be a way, in addition to just policing, there has to be a way of transforming our communities where there's a sense of hope. Because I think for many of our young people and many of our young black males, they kind of deal with this pervasive sense of hopelessness. And we have to look at ways in terms of connecting with other community partners to transform our communities where there is a sense of hope and where we can engage them to take on some degree of responsibility when it comes to strategies for self-policing in our communities. So I think those are the two things that will come to mind that should be a part of the questions that are raised to the candidates for this position.
Thank you, Reverend Dillard. Dr. Vereen.
Good evening. Take this so I won't have to bend over. I'm Keith Vereen. I am the new president of the Ministers' Conference of Winston-Salem and vicinity, and I am the pastor of Providence Baptist Church in Kernersville, North Carolina. I wanted to make sure that when I became the pastor of Providence that I wasn't disconnected to some of the issues that were going on in Winston-Salem. For years, I worked with the homeless. Upon moving here to Winston-Salem from Fort Bragg, North Carolina, I worked with the homeless community, primarily initially with homeless veterans. And then I saw that the problem was so pervasive that I could not limit those services just to veterans and just to men, that I had to expand to working with women and men, as well as civilian people that had never served in the military. So that work gave me exposure to things that go on in an inner city and to get background on people's problems, things that they're dealing with. A lot of my clients at that time were restricted from past involvement with law enforcement, crimes that they had committed when they were juveniles, young people. It wasn't that they were not able to afford housing, it's just that they were not able to live in some of the places that they want to live because of criminal records. So I spent a lot of time dealing with issues like that, with criminal justice and pushing for criminal justice reform, that type of thing. As I began to sit down and talk to a lot of these individuals, men and women, I realized that truthfully, although we were at the point of homelessness, it wasn't homelessness that was really their problem. It was things that had happened during the course of their life. And so I've heard several of you mention different things, you know, your perspective of what the problem here is and what's selling. And let me just say, you're all correct. You're all correct. I agree wholeheartedly with what has been said. But sometimes we can get into simplification or oversimplification of a problem. In respect to what you were saying, Coach, about the Boy Scouts. One, my church, we have 3 males under the age of 16 in Kernersville. And I know that there are a lot more young people in Kernersville than that. And our doors are open every Sunday. We never close. Our doors are open every Sunday. Hey, you're talking to the wrong one. Our church is in the community, there's no doubt about it. We're doing feeding programs, we're doing COVID programs. My church is in the community. Unfortunately, my church is located in Kernersville. But let me just say, once again, with oversimplification, we know some of the issues that have happened with the Boy Scouts nationally. And so for me as a pastor, I'm not going to trust my young folk in a program such as that. I'm just going to be honest with you. I'm not going to do it. I talked to the Scoutmaster that was at the MLK Noonday program on Monday. We had a great conversation, great man, Mr. James Evans. And we were talking about how, to include the Boy Scouts in the churches. And I know that our young men need some type of positive program, working with Dr. Peoples-Joyner, seeing the work that she's doing. I know that there is a missing piece of the puzzle. I understand that. And I want to see the churches involved. I saw the struggle of trying to bring churches together to address the issues of homelessness here in Winston-Salem. It was a struggle. And I told some of the pastors that I used to talk to at that time, and I knew quite a bit of the pastors in the black church before I ever became a minister, before I ever became a pastor. I met a lot of the pastors in the community, and I told them, I can stand on that hill up there on Patterson Avenue at Bethesda Center, and I can turn 360 degrees, and at every turn, there's a steeple of a church in my view. And it's a black church. So it makes no sense to me that the churches in this area, and I know a lot of them look at me like, well, you're in Kernersville, it's easy for you to talk about, the churches here in Winston-Salem. But it makes no sense to me why these churches, why these pastors and the congregations that are sitting in these churches on Sunday, why they can't come together and be more effective. You're hearing the gunshots. You're seeing the newspaper articles about people dying. Your congregation, the people that are sitting in your pews, are the ones that are being traumatized. We talked about trauma. They're the ones that are suffering. They're the ones that are dealing with the bullet holes in their windows and in their walls and in their cars and people breaking in. So how can we stand on Sunday morning and preach from a pulpit about unity and about overcoming and about healing and about victory when our people are losing every day of the week, when they're being destroyed in the very places that they should be safe? So as I believe that God has ordained me for the purpose of being the president of the Ministers Conference. If you belong to a church and you're sitting here right now, and your pastor is not a part of the Ministers Conference, ask them why. Ask them why they did not join under the leadership of Pastor Covington and all the great things that she was doing with that organization to reach out. A lot of the things that have been said today, the Ministers Conference, they didn't just start doing that. They've been doing it for a long time. And she has enhanced some of those programs to be able to reach out. And a lot of what we do is targeted toward our young people. Our Social Justice Committee and our Food Justice Committee. There are programs that we are trying to enhance right now to address some of the things that through our Education Committee, to address some of the things that young people are dealing with. So if you belong to a church and your pastor is not a part of that work that the Ministers Conference is doing, ask them why. Ask them why they're not, because they need to be a part of the solution and not a part of the problem. And so they can't keep driving by the situation, coming in and going out like nothing's happening. We have to do something. I'm tired. I live in Walkertown. I am tired of sitting out in Walkertown and reading about the violence and people dying in Winston-Salem. I'm sick of it. I could just be out in Walkertown, serve my church in Kernersville, and be done with it, and be happy, and have no problems. But that's not who I am. I'm the black man that's being missed in the conversation when you all have referred to black men tonight. I'm the black man that wants to do something about it. I'm the black man that wants to be involved. I'm the black man that does not have to receive a residual for the work that I'm doing. I'm the black man that wants to work. I'm the black man that wants to see people succeed. I'm the black man that has raised 2 black men. And I'm not going to stand by and see my people perish. Let's begin to do something about it. I agree with everyone that says that our problems are not to be solved by others. They can help us solve them, But we've got to take the first step as well. We have to do something about our own situations, okay? And a lot of what we see it's happening in our communities. So we have to take responsibility. We have to take charge to do something about the problem. The people that are sitting here, you're not the people that I'm talking to. Really what I'm doing is preaching to the choir. I talked to Mayor Pro Tem on Monday, and we talked about how sometimes we have a tendency to beat the people up that we see. The ones that come out, do the work, the ones that are in the meetings, are at the table, those are the people that we are attacking. But where are the people that aren't doing anything? Why are we not holding them accountable? Why are we not asking them, where were you at on Thursday night? We need to hold everyone accountable and encourage the ones that we see. Encourage one another. I'm not against anyone in this room. I'm not against anyone in this room. I just want to see this community succeed, and I know that we can. And as in reference to the next chief, I want to see a method that is able to look at the vetting system for the police department. I think Bishop Mack mentioned something about the hiring process, and of course when you're bringing people into environments that they don't necessarily or haven't necessarily grown up in or not accustomed to, there's obviously going to be some difference, especially in culture, difference in understanding, difference in background. So I certainly want to see a vetting process, and I charged Attorney General Josh Stein 2 years ago about looking at the vetting process, not just for Winston-Salem, but the entire state of North Carolina, to look at the vetting process, because unfortunately we know that extremism is slipping through the cracks. And I want to make sure that people that are being hired, I know that we have 144, 141 vacancies, I understand that, but I don't want to just see anyone fill those vacancies. I want to see quality people fill those vacancies. And so I don't want the police department to have to scrape the bottom of the barrel and get someone that is not going to be impartial. I want the police department to get people that have a heart for the people that they're serving. You know, I see this protect and serve. I want that to be protect and serve everyone, not just some people. Protect and serve every community, not just some communities, not just the communities that look like me. I want to see the police department make sure that they are vetting these young men and women that are coming in and make sure that they're keeping extremism out.
Thank you, Dr. Rareen. That's great words to close us out. I do want to acknowledge, is that Councilmember Scipio back there? Councilmember Scipio's joined us. She's Councilwoman of the East Ward. I also want to acknowledge the police department's PIO. She's the first public information officer, Kyra Boyd. Raise your hand so people can see you. The director of Smart Start is here, Dr. Louis Finney. My former neighbors, I grew up in Stonewall. My next door neighbors is Regina and Mr. Ford are here. But Regina is the director of the Boston Thurman Network. So just wanted to acknowledge you all. Thank you all so much. We took notes. You all gave us some amazing feedback. You know, what we heard is that we are one community. We all have some responsibility. We're in this together. But what we can do as a police department, that is what we will do. Councilmember Taylor, any last words? Okay. All right. We are dismissed, and thank you all so much for coming out.